Take one. So I'm 32, and for the past 2 years, I have felt so much pressure to have my entire life figured out. And I feel like for your 30s, the 3 areas that are constantly brought up to you are marriage and kids, career and money, and then home ownership if you're lucky enough. And the reality of my life is I don't have any of those 3 things figured out entirely. And so I wanted to create a video for anyone else who might be feeling this pressure in their 30s and who is feeling behind in life, a bit lost, struggling to figure out what to do, or just feeling overwhelmed with anxiety and stress on not having any of these things. I was in your same boat a few years ago, and I had to really reframe how I thought about my 30s to shift into a more positive and happy place. So let's get into it. Okay, so lesson number 1 is that your 30s are not for catching up, they're for becoming who you are. I cannot tell you the amount of time that I spent looking to my left, looking to my right, and just constantly comparing myself to my friends, my family, to people online on social media, people I don't even know, and who clearly are posting on social media because it's a highlight reel. But I just felt like no matter where I looked, I felt like everyone else was living a better, more successful life than I was, whether it's someone having an amazing career and working in their dream job, whether it's someone making a ton of money and being able to live this super luxurious lifestyle, whether it's people being in super fulfilling relationships and on the path to have kids of their own or already having babies of their own. And then finally, people who own beautiful apartments or beautiful homes. And it just made me feel like I was a baby amongst a bunch of adults, and I completely empathize with that, and that's a very valid feeling. But what I realize is that your life isn't about looking at what other people are doing and comparing yourself and trying to catch up to everyone else, because there's no way to say in the future that they're going to continuously be ahead of you. Like, you have no idea what their life is going to look like, what your own life is going to look like. Maybe you're going to have this amazing success 3 years down the road, and then people are going to feel like you're ahead of them. And so I've put my entire focus, instead of feeling like I need to catch up to everyone else, onto myself and onto how I can build a life that I'm really proud of, and what are the elements of my life that I really care about, and how can I start incorporating that today versus waiting for the husband or waiting for the house or waiting for that perfect job to fulfill all of my needs, or for me to feel like I've accomplished and reached, that milestone in my 30s. And so I'd recommend, if any of you feel this way, reframe your 30s as a period for truly becoming who you are. I read this beautiful line on TikTok that said that your 20s, you are the adults of babies, and then in your 30s, you're the babies of adults. So you are just at the beginning of your adult journey, and there's so much to do, so much to learn. And so I hope that reframe helps. Okay, the second lesson I learned is that you can start over at any moment. And I am embarrassed to admit, but I told myself the longest time the narrative and the story that it's too late. I'm so behind, I'm so old, my life is over, I'm a failure. And I kept repeating that thought loop over and over and over, which obviously stopped me from pursuing any new goals, stopped me from going for things that I really wanted, but I felt like I wasn't a good fit or it's too late. And this is all to say that there is this narrative from society that you are old in your 30s, and we are so young, and there's so much more to life, and it's so worth pursuing your dreams or pursuing your passions or doing things that you've always wanted to do. And I feel like now more than ever, I'm talking to friends and in our 30s, and we're returning to that inner child nature of like, what were the things that brought you joy as a kid, and can you bring that back into your life? Because life can get really monotonous, life can get really boring, to be honest, because it's so repetitive and because once you are working, it's like you wake up, you go to your job, then maybe you work out, then you make dinner, then you watch a show, then you go to bed, and it just gets so redundant in terms of what you're doing. And so you have to be really intentional about bringing in things that you love, whether that's a hobby, whether that's pursuing a passion. Like for me, I really love storytelling, and so I want to get back into YouTube, into writing, whether that's going for the job you want, whether that's moving to a different city. There is so much you can do, and your 30s are a perfect time to rebuild and have new beginnings. So please do not think that just because you're in your 30s that life is over and that your life is set in stone and you need to stay exactly where you are doing whatever job you're doing or being the kind of person you've been for the past 3 decades. You can always change, you can always evolve, you can always adapt no matter what age. And the last thing, it's obvious, it's simple, but be kind to yourself. Similar to what I was talking about in my first point, I was my worst critic. I am the one who was telling myself that I was a failure. I'm the one who was telling myself that I was so behind in life. I'm the one who was telling myself that I'm gonna end up alone because I couldn't find a partner. It was just so unhelpful and so unhealthy for me to be saying all of these negative things to myself and constantly internally berating and judging myself. And so it's a reminder to just be conscious of the story and narrative that you're telling yourself and to actually change it, because we don't realize how much of our thoughts are negative or not helpful for us. And you hear this all the time, but would you talk to a friend the way that you talk to yourself? And I think that's really telling. Or even better to me is, would you talk to the 5-year-old version of yourself the way you're talking to yourself right now? And so please be kind to yourself. Your 30s are a great time for reflection, discovery, like I said, rebirth, changes, and I'm wishing you the best. I hope you know that you're not alone, because I am also figuring out my 30s and navigating my 30s and really learning, you know, how to build a life that I'm proud of and is full and is happy, or I'm happy. And so if that interests you, please subscribe. I would love to grow this community of people who are figuring out life together. All right, have a good one. Bye.